To the Ghost is the very highly anticipated album from CULTS, and I am so stoked to have Brian and Madeline join us from the band. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having us. We're stoked to be here.
I am so stoked to be here in your space.
Yes.
We're on the rooftop of your apartment, Brian.
This is where it happens. This is the like 60 square foot room downstairs is where we make almost all of our music.
And that's why we're doing the shoot here in the rooftop, because we can only cram so much.
There's a lot of boxes down there.
Yeah. How long have you been living here?
Like 7 years in this apartment, but I've lived in the East Village uninterrupted for 15 years.
Wow.
And I'm worried I may never leave.
He's an old timer.
I've only been visiting the East Village now for maybe about the last 3 years or whatnot. And I've read things about the East Village, Ukrainian village and whatever. How do you view the change, your perspective on the change over the years?
You know, I don't know as much about it as she does, to be honest, because she's been coming out here.
Well, you definitely do. Every single time since the start of the band, we have left for tour and come back, and the entire neighborhood is completely different.
Yeah, there's
anything,
like on every block there's 2 new places.
Yeah, any restaurant you liked, it's probably closed, and there's a new one in its place.
Yeah, it's wild.
But other than that, it's also kind of stayed. It's kept the same spirit. Still got the East Village spirit, even though there's a high turnover and high rents.
Sometimes we feel like we're like people who never left their college town. You know, like we're just like still hanging out in Ann Arbor. Like, hey guys.
You're those 30-somethings that are still there's a frat party.
Yeah, exactly.
Or house party, whatever. What about the music scene? Because I've read a lot about how this area was an incubator during the 2010s.
Yeah, well, this area kind of, but in that, we were just talking about in that era, we would say like we were constantly defending ourselves against the claim of being a Brooklyn band. Because it was like
nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, but it was like just so happening over there, and
we just didn't.
It's always happening here, you know, on a like a low level, but there hasn't been like a big, Manhattan burst in a while. But
I feel it coming.
We're due. Yeah.
I can feel it happening again.
Brooklyn's expensive. It's more expensive than here now. Come back.
Is it really?
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. Those hipsters, I tell you.
I know they've reached the nadir.
What was it like during the pandemic when you were obviously releasing an album and then creating a new album and not longing for nostalgia going back home and staying here?
It was tricky to think about. Like we had a lot. It was, was it October 2020 that we released our album? September. We were really we were ready to release it in much earlier, and it was a tough decision to even do it. A lot of people were pushing stuff back further, hoping that touring was going to happen, and
it was really anti-climactic. The
it was.
Release.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, it's out. That's it. Nothing happened. We didn't tour. We didn't play a show.
A lot of Zoom interviews.
Yeah.
But Host was a kind of a different step in a way for you guys, with Madeline writing more and presenting material, right? Spit on You still is in my rotation.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious how you felt, like you said, anticlimactic, but like how you felt, like were you satisfied still putting that out, or,
I guess I was satisfied in a way, and it also did something for me where I just felt like, okay, pre-Host I had been really nervous about and self-conscious about my contributions, and then we put out a record and it was so okay, that happened. So it made me feel more free, less nervous about sharing on this past record. I feel like I came in with a lot more stuff than I normally would have, because I was less nervous because it was so anticlimactic. But yeah, I think it gave me a lot more confidence because I just knew that it didn't matter and people did enjoy the record. Well, it didn't matter.
Her songs are good.
Well, that's why I'm asking, right? You work so hard. You're like, okay, we're moving in a new direction, and then all of a sudden it's like, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's. I mean, it just.
Well, it's also like one thing we've realized is like, and we're extremely fortunate to have this be the case, but I think our music takes a little bit of time to sink in, and we've had these songs that are really old become really popular lately, and it's really bizarre, but it's almost like on a schedule
Yeah.
of like 4 to something years later, everyone's like, have you this, like, I don't know, it's weird music. So I think it takes some time to like gel with the world, and we're just at a kind of piece now where we're just like building the whole thing, and it's like putting pieces in a really big puzzle, and
Yeah.
it's made it like way more like satisfying for
It's
us.
interesting you say that because we're both old enough to know. I remember when you first came out and Go Outside and so
Right.
forth, right? And like blogs were the thing.
Oh yeah.
And now you guys have had a little bit of a revival from TikTok.
Yeah.
So technology is an integral part of the exposure of your music.
Yeah. Well, I always say, like, when people talk about this stuff, I'm like, man, when we started this band, we were selling 99-cent singles on iTunes.
Yeah.
Like Spotify didn't exist, Instagram didn't exist, like definitely TikTok didn't exist. So the paradigms change, and you just ride them, because like it's always cool because it's always temporary,
Right.
and like something new is going to be coming in 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it's just cool. And then if you can get any like, kind of rejuvenation out of that, like where people like who wouldn't normally engage with certain kinds of music getting into it, it's awesome.
So does that mean that you're going to change the set list up and not have to play Go Outside last? You have to
It's
play
funny
Always
That
because
is
and
so
now
true,
you can
yeah.
tell like what era
Forever? The
fan
audience.
you are, because if people are like, go outside, I'm like, the younger kids don't even know Go Outside.
Right.
So we thought we were going to be playing Go Outside
Forever.
for our encore forever, but now it's not in our encore. Well,
Yeah.
It's
It
like
might be
second
this
to
tour.
last or third to last.
You never know.
Third to last or something.
Now the old people can leave.
Yeah.
kids
we
can
play
mosh.
it first so people can get home to their kids.
Or actually not mosh, they'll make out.
Yes.
We've seen some moshing to Go Outside. It's happened.
In
Right.
Scotland.
Oh, in Scotland?
Yeah, they were moshing in Scotland.
Wow.
They were kind of singing it like a soccer song. Oh,
wow.
Going crazy. It was fun.
But always and forever, obviously.
Yes, that song has been crazy lately. Like now there's, just there's like all the shows you've played since, and which is not that many, since that song started becoming really popular. It's just like young people in the front rows crying and like singing along, and it's like I don't know, it's so cool because the of the two songs that seem to be really connecting with like the young people on the internet, and like Always Forever and Gilded Lily, like if you were to ask us like 3 years ago, what are your 2 best cult songs, we would have said those 2. And like, I don't know, the kids are smart, it's cool that they could like, now those songs were singles, it's cool that they could like dig them out. Like I think those are the 2 songs where we like really like kind of reached for like a big idea and like got close to it, and the ones I want to listen to over and over. So
And there's more of those. The TikTokers just have to find them. We're not going to tell what our best songs are.
oh, true.
Oh.
Yeah.
Let them figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
Gen Alpha is right on their heels, so Gen Z is just kind of just getting started with finding music. So
Gen Z's getting old already.
exactly. No, I got a 12-year-old niece, and she's right on top of it. So.
Yeah.
I believe.
But new music here, and circling back to pandemic and things, it's taken quite a while to kind of gather all those thoughts of what you were going through, and now here we are, 3 years later, 4 years later, coming out to release. Some of it nostalgic in a lot of ways. So what was the prevailing thought? Because there's music and songs that talk about lost love or relationships, but then also life in general.
Yeah, well, this record was like a different way of working as far as like concepts and lyrics were, and involved because we were like, I don't know. I don't know how it kind of got this way, but we've always kind of, like, the way that we worked before was we'd have like an overarching idea, right? Like we knew that the record was going to be called Static, and it was going to be darker, and it was going to like invoke this feeling of like a static TV in a dark room, like Poltergeist or something, you know? And then we'd kind of write a bunch of music and then hand it off to Madeline, and she would do, you know, we'd write the music together, but then we would hand the songs off to her, and she would do the melodies and lyrics, and then we'd end up having to rewrite the song because they would be like, oh, this is working, this isn't, and this is really kind of weird process that just felt like the only way we knew how to do it, but it took a really long time. And this time, we were like, let's not do that. Let's just get the vocals involved as soon as possible. Like, you know, we're like comfortable with each other as collaborators. Let's just sing some nonsense until we get something going that, you know, so we won't have to do these parts. And originally we were like, oh, let's just like sing out of a book, sing like the alphabet, you know, whatever. But Maddie was like, that's actually harder for me. Just give me like 5 minutes and I'll just like write something. And almost all the lyrics that she wrote, like, you know, with like no pressure in like a stream of consciousness way, or they're like really close to the ones that made it on the record.
Crybaby has been released, and I think a handful of others as well. The one that really stuck out, I love Crybaby, but the one that really stuck out as I was listening to the album was Crystal.
Oh, cool.
It's a very uplifting and very happy sounding type of vibe. How fast was that to write? Where did that come from?
Well, that one was really fun and different for us because we had never, that's actually a sample, and we'd never really worked with a sample like that before.
We try to make our music sound like it's from samples, but we make all the pieces. And this is the first time that we actually like kind of grabbed a part of like an old song and used it to like craft the song. And it was a song by an artist called Shira Small, who's like a really cool story that she made that record like in high school. Her like band teacher, like her school like put up the money, and because she had these cool songs, and her band teacher recorded it, and they distributed it at the school, and then like nothing happened for like 30 years. And then this really cool label called the Numero Group that puts out like rare and lost recordings found it and put it out, and we heard it and we were like, this is amazing, and sampled it and put it in one of our songs.
Wow.
And she lives in Jersey. Like, she's like here, she's like in her 70s, I think.
What did she think when she heard it?
She said she was into it.
Well, we haven't spoken with her, but
Oh, you haven't played it for her?
Well, not
she's
directly.
heard it, but
Okay.
we haven't personally spoken with her.
She
but
okayed it.
hopefully,
She
yeah.
gave thumbs up.
I think
Yeah.
from what I've read, she might be in the area, so maybe she can come out and
watch you guys
sing at a show.
Whoa.
Maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the chorus line, that is her chorus. So
Yeah.
hopefully
Wow.
she can come. I don't know. Shira, you there?
And so that particular song is a very happy song, but then there are other songs like, you know, like Cry Baby and other songs that kind of stick it to an ex and what have you. Again, were these kind of wistful feelings over the pandemic that you were looking back?
Yeah, like I said, it was like over a period of probably a year that we were writing the lyrics, and a lot of it honestly was like situations that I would see happening with like my little brother or my parents, you know, and I would come in to record with Brian, and I found a lot of like, I feel like, I don't know, there was a lot of familial drama in the pandemic.
Yeah.
I found it leaking into my lyrics, and I actually have spoken to some family members and let them know that they
I think like what kind of separates this, I think what kind of separates this album more from like Host and Offering and Static is like that they're kind of more like the first record. There are like more kind of like more levity, more like kind of funny parts, and you know, I feel like putting that stuff in feels like more like really authentically like us, but also it makes the story more complete, and it makes the emotional parts hit harder. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's like a I always think of it like a emotional like boxing. Like you kind of like throw like a jab and then you're like throw a right cross and you're like whoa, you know?
Right. Yeah.
I think we also, every record before this, we've said these are not love songs. There are no love songs on this record. And we were talking about it, and this record, I would say, is all love songs. We're finally ready to admit that
Wow.
we do
Wow.
experience love.
So that was kind of the takeaway from your time in isolation and quarantine.
It's okay to love.
You mentioned the familial conflicts and strife and what have you. Is Knots a reference to that? Expectations, people trying to leverage their
It's about
ideas.
trying to mold yourself into something that you know that you never will be, but trying to convince yourself and another person that you can be that person. And just realizing it's just not going to happen, and it's better if you just cut your losses and get out of there.
How long did it take to realize that? Because a lot of us do try to, all our lives, make our parents proud and or whoever, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to say how many years, but it's a very long time.
Yeah, I think we're still. I think I don't know. I had a friend who's a psychoanalyst and was trying to describe his job to me a couple days ago. Like I'm a 5-year-old, you know, and basically the end game was kind of the basic existentialism of like learn. You're never going to get what you want, and if you do, you wouldn't want it anymore. So learn to enjoy the striving, and like, you know, through 3 to 7 years of 3 times a week therapy, you can maybe get there. But I feel like we are getting there in our own small way, you know, at least especially with this band where we're just like kind of realizing that like everything's always going to change, and that, you know, we're just like in the flow of our own journey of self-discovery, you know, and that and this album feels exciting because it's like it feels like a kind of self-discovery album, and especially relative to the last few that have felt like us really trying on something different, you know.
Yeah. You know, you definitely have had a lot of different sounds and evolutions. 2 of you, 5-piece band, back to 2 of you, and all that, right?
Right.
Leave Home is a song that I think resonates with a very wide audience, especially today, because of our experience collectively of what the pandemic did to us. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We need to go out and do things. Like, I was just at an electronic music show, and they were playing this recording of some woman talking about, if you don't like your job, quit. If you have a passion that you love, go for it now, right? And so forth and so on. And Leave Home is kind of along those lines. Like, I think that's something that a lot of people are embodying right now. Where did that come from? Because
Totally. I think it's just kind of, like I said, a lot of about growing up and building that confidence in yourself to believe that what's going on in your head is correct. You know, like thinking about that song, I think about like when I was graduating high school and my dad was like, you have to go to this certain school. There was this one school that he really, really wanted me to go to. And for some reason I was just like, I don't want to do that. That's not what I'm going to do. And like I told you earlier, I ended up going to Berkeley City College, and everybody was like, this is such a bad idea. Like, why are you going to this city college far away from your home? And it turns out that what I did was right for me. That was the path that I needed to take. And I think a lot of the time I end up like listening to people doing what they say just because I feel like not confident in myself. But it's important to listen to yourself, because if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here, you know?
I can't wait for the tour as well, and you guys come through the Bay, and
Yeah.
see you live there.
We cannot wait to get to the Bay.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever been to this venue that we're playing that looks very cool. What's it
Do you
called?
remember where we were playing? I don't
Maddie
even-
says she's been thrown out.
Yeah, I was thrown out for
Wait, what venue?
double fisting beers. I think we're playing. Well, I can't remember if we're playing Slims or Bimbos.
Bimbos.
Oh, Bimbos.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had 2 beers in my hand. I was under 21. They were like, "Get out."
Oh man.
They
now we're
literally
triumphant
carried me out. My
return.
brother's band was playing at the time, and he's like, "That's my sister." I was like, "Ah."
Set her free.
I'm over 21 now, so
I will help in any way I can.
Okay. Keep us in there. Keep us on the
Yes.
stage.
Thanks so much for the time.
thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Really big
Welcome to New
fan.
York.
It's been forever and a long time coming to finally meet you, but I really appreciate it. Great album, and best of luck with everything.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
It's Cults right here on B-Sides.